In 1991, one of the most challenging games ever to be released was set forth by the company known as Rare to challenge the mighty and vanquish the dreams of little children everywhere. That game was Battletoads, not to be confused with adolescent teenagers who just happen to have awesome ninja skills. First, toads and turtles are totally different species. And secondly, toads are better because they have that awesome, really cool sticky tongue that just shoots out and latches onto things. I don't want to go into detail, it could totally alienate the whole turtle party, so we're just not going to go there. There's 6 Battletoad games in all, 5 if you disregard the remake. There's the first Battletoads on the NES, the first Battletoads on the Game Boy, which was also released in 1991 and has the same artwork and title, but they're totally different games. There's Battletoads on Ragnarok's World, which is basically the first game. Like I said, it's the remake, so we're just not going to count that. Battletoads and Battlemaniacs on the Super Nintendo. Also, there's Battletoads and Double Dragon. And finally, Battletoads, which was released in the arcades and as a completely different game than the first 2, even if it has the same name. Seriously, Rare, you need to work on your naming skills. Each game contains the aforementioned toads and a conglomeration of pigs, rats, cyborgs, drones, and an evil sexy dominatrix. What the hell is going on, Rare? Man, the 90s were crazy. In order to learn the story of Battletoads, we actually have to dig up our old copies of Nintendo Power. In issue 25, a comic written by Rare employee Guy Miller tells us that the Battletoads were actually humans living on planet Earth named Morgan, Dave, and George, and they were actually video game testers. They worked for a company called Cycone, and they were testing a new virtual reality simulation game called Battletoads. As if working for a company with the word psycho in the name didn't give this all away, strange things were afoot at the company, and the trio became suspicious of their chief engineer, Silas Volkmeyer, and also their boss, who's not really important because he's never ever mentioned. So like the Scooby-Doo gang, they decide to investigate. The trio heads off to the office at night and discovers that the schematics for the virtual reality game simulation was stolen. And then they discover that the virtual reality game system they were testing on had been tampered with. So like geniuses, they decide to sit down and actually play, just to make sure that it was okay. Because who stops to play a game when you're breaking and entering into a secret testing facility and you're trying to dig up info on your boss? Need I remind you that this company has the word psycho in it? Of course, this is a trap set by Silas, and the trio gets stuck inside the video game permanently. Immediately upon their arrival, the Dark Queen tries to kill them, but the Toads escape with the help of Professor T-Bird, and all 4 of them vow to never stop fighting the Dark Queen until they defeat her, which they never do because she always escapes at the end, which is important because this means that every time we see the Battletoads, they're still in the simulation. They've never left because they vowed to stay. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So the Toads' names are Zitz, Pimple, and Rash. Who else tends to get skin conditions like those? Teenagers, not the turtle variety. Each Toad has awesome combat skills and can do a variety of cartoonish things. They can do things like make their fists gigantic, make their boots big, and even sprout horns from their head. Alright, let's get to the story. So in the first Battletoads, the Toads along with the Professor are escorting Princess Angelica. We don't really know anything about Angelica, we just know that the Toads are escorting her. So during a rest stop, apparently they're all tired, Pimple and Angelica decide to go for a ride because reasons. But they get taken hostage by the Dark Queen, who literally sucks them up into her ship. And that's actually the last time we hear of Princess Angelica, who plays no more important parts of the story. You can basically say she's Princess Peach. So the Toads do their thing, the princess is rescued, yay, story done. And the next game, Battletoads on the Game Boy, the Toads are actually heading to a planet called Las Vega to get some well-deserved R&R time. One evening, they're partaking of some fine entertainment when an exotic dancer begins enticing them with her moves. This is the story, I am not joking. The dancer turned out to be the Dark Queen, and she kidnaps everyone except Zitz because he escapes. So as Zitz, you go in and rescue everybody, and yay, day is saved. But this is when the story gets weird. So in the third game, the Toads and the Professor get invited to a secret testing facility on Earth by the company Cycone, who's demoing their new virtual reality game simulation system called Trips. That's right, the same company that made the original simulation that our Toads got stuck in are now making a new game simulation in a simulation. Of course, This is a trap, just like it was in the original. How do they not see this coming? The CEO's daughter and Zitz are kidnapped by a psycho pig and taken inside the game world. So naturally, the rest of the Toads go off, and now you're playing a game within a game. This is otherwise known as Gameception. In the Battletoads and Double Dragon game, the Dark Queen allies herself with the Shadow Master. Thus, the entire Double Dragon franchise is now confirmed to be a game simulation. So the Toads find Billy and Jimmy Lee, take the Battlecopter to outer space to battle the Dark Queen outer spaceship, which makes a lot more sense now because we know that it's a simulation. Helicopters can't actually fly in space. Of course, everyone is irresponsible and forgets their spacesuit, but thankfully the laws of space aren't very well programmed in the simulation. Midway through the game, you actually manage to bring down her ship, but not before it files a missile at Earth. Really? A missile? Not like a gigantic laser beam? Cause you don't have the technology. And as far as I can tell, the Battletoads arcade game doesn't even have a story. You just show up and kick butt and take names. And if the Toads had teeth, they probably would be chewing bubblegum. Enough about the Toads and their story, let's talk about the evil vixen. The Dark Queen's army is very militaristic, with several enemies and bosses having military titles. There's General Vermin, General Slaughter, Admiral Oink, who's never actually seen in the games, and actually the Dark Queen herself if you count a queen as a military title. There's also several reoccurring bosses that, with some simple investigating, also lend themselves to having military positions. There's Robo-Manus, who is the final boss in 2 of the games, and it looks like he's the right-hand man of the Dark Queen. There's also Big Blag, the leader of the Rats, and he's another main villain who appears in a lot of the games, and his right-hand man is Scuds, the rat. I'd love to tell you more about the games and the locations and all that stuff, but that's about it. There's not really any more information. The verdict? If you take away the nostalgia and the great music and the awesome butt kicking, the games are really subpar. All we know about anything is that we're Toads and we're in outer space. So basically anything can happen. The story doesn't really make any sense. A bunch of characters are so cliche. And really, Battletoads is almost a complete ripoff of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I will give credit to Rare for having kind of adult themes in these games. It really paved the way for Tonka's Bad Fur Day to be awesome. But let's face it, the only non-Ninja Turtle thing that you can do in the game is eat flies, and that's because you're a toad. If you like games for the flavor and extra stuff, then this series is not for you. But if you want to lay the smackdown on some pigs and rats, then you'll like the challenge it gives. And for all you crazy Toad fans, on November 10th, 2014, Battletoads was re-trademarked in the United States. Will they make a comeback? We'll just have to wait and find out. Thanks for watching.